Welcome back to the SSL Family Dad channel. Today, I'm going to talk about why I don't really use my compost pile anymore. So this is what I pull out of the pasture floor, I guess you'd call it, just all over the surface of the pasture. This is filled with organisms and different decomposers. So we have tons of earthworms and red wigglers in here. I can see, you know, there's worms just everywhere in here, which is a good sign of healthy soil. And living soil, which is what we want. We don't want dirt. We don't want sand. We don't want, you know, packed down, dead, dry soil. We want soil that's filled with worms. That's what we want. We want to see all different life stages. We want to see little ones, big ones. There's also a bunch of other little bugs in here, nematodes, and I saw a few centipedes, other decomposers. And there's a ton of organic matter in here, but there's also a ton of worm castings and manures, chicken manures, and there's goat manures in here. There's some bedding. You'll see some straw and hay that's packed down in here that isn't quite broken down. This is exactly what we want to be putting in the garden throughout the year, not just at the beginning, not just at the end. We want to add living soil to our garden all year round. And so this is our late June amendment of the garden. So this is like a slow release fertilizer. So we've got stuff that's broken down, ready for the vegetables' roots to start to grab onto and extract nutrients, nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, a ton of micronutrients. All the things that plants need to grow are here. You don't need to add anything else. And then you've got a lot of stuff that's still going to be broken down throughout the year. So as the worms move through this, their manures are what's left behind. And so you're going to have vermicompost. You're going to have a ton of worm manure that will be added to the soil throughout the year. So this will continue to provide all the nutrients that your plants need, not just at the beginning, but all through the summertime. So this is our chicken pasture. There's two sections to it. There's the section with, we used to have goat shelter, and then chickens on top. And then there's a second pasture in the back where we could split goats out. But this is where we fed our goats. We had the hay feeder here and over there, and then back there a lot. And this is where the chickens' feeder is. It's right here. So this whole area here is layers upon layers of manure and sticks and leaves. All these trees lose their leaves. Obviously, they fall in here. The chickens have scratched through all that. So this whole top, 6 to 8 inches of soil in here is super rich in manures and basically composted things. After I dug down just one shovel layer, I guess you'd say, this is what's under here. There's still quite a bit of good composted and some uncomposted manures and organic matter in here. So this is very, very rich. I also have the chicken coop behind me that I put wood flakes in, pine shavings, whatever, in there as bedding, and then I scoop that all out. There's a clean out tray right there behind me. This door, this little spot opens up, and then I just rake all that bedding out right onto the ground behind me. And then the chickens just sort through all that. They'll pick through it. There'll be worms, and it attracts lots of bugs and things that they like to eat. And so I instead of composting this or putting in a compost pile, I've just been dumping it all right in the pasture. And I think that's been working actually a lot better. I think it breaks down faster. This was the old compost pile that we used to use, and I still do use it. I put some sawdust in here and some wood shavings and some bedding and things from our baby chicks as we were raising them out. But what I'm going to do from now on is, instead of putting anything in here after this year, I'm just going to take everything right into this pasture and just dump piles. So if I clean out other coops and other bedding from other animals, I'm just going to dump it all in here. So we're basically eliminating a step. I used to put, food scraps and stuff in there, and then my dog would get into it, or raccoons would get into it, other things would get into it. Instead, I'm just putting all of our food scraps in here, even things that the chickens won't necessarily eat, like avocado rinds or other stuff, that I just dump it all in there. All of our food scraps, all of our organic matter, waste, things like that, leftovers that have gone past what we want to eat. All that stuff just gets dumped in there. The chickens eat it. They process it right into manure. It gets deposited in the soil. They build up a layer of manure, soil, leaves fall, all that stuff. They're tracking through it, breaking it all down, and it makes the most perfect soil for gardening and growing in. And so I'm just going to do this. I'm going to kind of abandon the compost pile and just instead go right to kind of a more natural and sustainable way of composting. There are lots of sticks in here, though. That is kind of a downfall. I do have to maybe rake some of these sticks up into a pile, but it's not that bad to work around. Well, let's go down to the garden, get some of this unloaded and put around some vegetables. The number one goal of this garden and any garden that we've had here is to raise healthy, organic, natural, and food in a sustainable way. So that's the whole idea, and that's why every time we have gardened, composting or compost has always been an important part of what we do. But that doesn't necessarily mean having a compost pile. When we were in the subdivision, we definitely had a compost pile. We didn't have animals. We had just a few chickens. We didn't have really enough manures and all that kind of stuff to support a large garden, because it does take a lot of ingredients. You have to put a ton of food and leaves and grass clippings and all that stuff into a compost pile to get a good amount of healthy compost. Using animals, so chickens or goats or sheep or horses or anything like that, cows, using animals to feed grass clippings and hay and all these other materials, all these things that we can harvest off of the land that we use naturally in our house, food scraps and all the leftovers that we have. Once they sit in the fridge for a few days, people don't eat them. That goes out to the chickens. They eat that stuff and they instantly produce something that can be put into the garden. Manure and composted manure is, in my opinion, the absolute best stuff for growing all forms of vegetables, whether you're looking at tomatoes or peppers or legumes or high acidity, low acidity, all that stuff. Compost is the best. It has everything in it that you need to grow good food. Now, a couple things that somebody might ask questions about. I don't put any manures in our garden within 30 days of a harvest. So right now we're still in June, we're early on in our gardening year, and we're actually way behind this year. So all of this stuff will have time to break down, any bacteria or anything unhealthy in the soil with the chicken manures and stuff like that will have time to dissipate and break down, and all the little bugs and stuff will eat all that down. And it's actually going to compost as the vegetables grow. And so that's totally fine. I'm not going to put, chicken manure, fresh chicken manure right around vegetables, root vegetables or anything like that we're going to eat or harvest within, 30 to even 60 days. I will amend some of the soil in about 30 days. So I'll bring more compost out for some of our longer vegetables, like we're growing all that, the corn you saw there was actually popcorn. That won't be ready to harvest till late October. So we'll put some, I'll put some more around that. Those are heavy nitrogen feeding plants. So we'll use some more compost and more manures right from the pasture out there. And then I'll amend some of the other soil around some of our longer vegetables. But we'll be starting to harvest peppers and tomatoes and things like that in the next probably 60 days, 45 days. And so I don't want to really put anything fresh around that. Now, if you don't have animals, obviously use your compost pile. Get yourself a little spot set up in your yard and get out there and put your grass clippings and your leaves and your, all your food scraps from the house and all that stuff that is compostable. Obviously not meats, and don't put milk in there and cheese and stuff like that, but all your vegetable scraps and potato peels and all that stuff can go out there and use that, whatever you have available. But if you can get some chickens will make short work of any kind of food, and even grass clippings and all that stuff. They will process that for you, and they'll break it down a lot quicker, and all of their manures and all of that, chicken stuff is going to attract tons of worms and bugs and other composters. And so you're going to actually have a much quicker compost, and you're going to have a much quicker product if you're using animals, chickens in particular. Goats would be the same. Pigs are another good one. Pigs will eat anything, and they will make compost very quickly. They will tear through grass clippings, and you can dump leaves in their pen. You can dump anything that grows or used to grow that it's dead now. You can put in their pen, as well as meat scraps and all that stuff, and they'll take that and they'll process it, and they'll make something you can put in the garden. So let me know what you guys think. Is there a place for the compost pile anymore? Or are the chickens the ideal composter? Are they the replacement for the regular traditional compost system that we and many use? Hit thumbs up, makes a big difference on each video. I always say it, I've said it for years, it does help. Hit thumbs up for me. Subscribe if it's your first time here, I'd love to have you tag along. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.